Hello, good afternoon. My name is Ricky Garcia, and I'm here to present this research, this study that I'm going to perform. This title of this research is Barriers of English Language Learners in School. Uh, this is part of a project from National University. So, what are the barriers that English language learners have to face in school? We have to start with this in this research with chapter one. In chapter one, I'm briefly describing and giving an introduction about this research. Uh, each classroom right now in the United States, one of nine students is an English language learner. So it is important to understand and identify those English language learners. The nature of this study, of this research, is to support English language learners across all the different grade levels in schools. This is the nature of the study. This is the purpose of the study is to identify those obstacles that English language learners face at school every day. We need to identify those obstacles so we can help them. And we have three research questions here. What are the barriers English language learners face at school each day to achieve success? What are the obstacles that English language learners encounter at school? What are the challenges that English language learners have to overcome to be successful in school? Those are the research questions that throughout this research, we're going to be finding those answers for those questions. So we jump into chapter number two. And we have in chapter number two a literature review. Okay? And this literature review explains, using different researches, the main, the five obstacles that English language learners face at school based on the research, based on different researchers that the author has investigated. He has found five big obstacles that they face. The first one is unqualified teachers or schools. There's in there's an article from Henry 2018 that states that teachers should regularly monitor students' language development with weekly assessments and have observations, have checklists, but they are not doing them. Another big barrier is lack of motivation. Students are not motivated, and that starts triggering other areas such as self confidence, stress, and anxiety. Oslam 2016. So that's another barrier. Family support. The third one, parent engagement is a challenge in English language learners because of varying cultural beliefs and expectations. Bosta 2015. That's another researcher that found something about this barrier. English language learners don't have a lot of support from family sometimes. Money restraints, that is another barrier that we can find in this literature review. According to Cantor 2003 2013, one in four English language learners in the United States is growing up in poverty. So, money can be a challenge or an obstacle that students have to overcome that can affect their learning at school. Relationships, that's another barrier, the fifth one. In an article written by Lexia in 2017, she states that students, English language learners, have to have relationships that help them understand better English, to learn more about English, especially so they can be exposed to high frequency words. So the relationships with another students or relationships with their teachers is important as well. That is another barrier that they need to overcome as well. We jump into chapter number three, methodology. How am I, the author, is gonna do this research? To start, we're gonna do it in the school of the author, an elementary school. He teaches fourth grade. He will observe 20 English language learners in fourth grade, 10 students from his classroom, and another 10 students from the other fourth grade classroom. He is going to observe them throughout the day in the different subjects. He's going to observe them during the recess time. He's going to observe them during their lunch time. And he's going to observe them at the end of the day. He also is going to have a structured interview. He's going to choose those same 20 students to make a structured interview. Structured interview is the same questions to the different persons, to different students. And he's going to choose one student per each grade level from K to sixth grade. So one from kinder, one for first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth grade to do that interview. And finally, the third way of he's gonna gather information is by through a poll. He's gonna do a poll in 3 different classrooms. Why third, fifth, and sixth grade? Because this poll is a little bit more. Those students are a little bit more bigger, so they're gonna understand more those questions, and we're gonna find out more information about that poll. What is the procedure to start? The timeline is going to be 1 month. Why 1 month? That month is going to be the starting month of school, August the 19th to September the 19th. Why is it important to have that procedure and this research in the beginning of the month, in the beginning of the school year? Because there's a lot of barriers that we are going to observe. For example, relationships. At the beginning of the year, some of them don't have relationships. They're new at school. So we're going to find out if that's a barrier in their learning process throughout that first month. At the end of the month, probably they're going to have more friends, and maybe probably their grades are going to go better, or they're going to have more confidence in themselves. So that's something that we're going to observe in that research and those observations. And it's important to do it in the beginning of the school year. Also, in the interviews, they're going to be the structured interview is going to be in the middle of that month, the second week of school, so they can have more concrete and honest answers when they're in the interview. Some questions involve homework, so they have to be in school for a little couple of times so they can answer correctly. So the observations are going to be throughout the class and the subjects and breaks they have during lunch, the dismissal time, and the teacher, the author in this case, is going to log everything into a journal. Everything, their behaviors, their attitudes toward other partners, to classmates, their attitudes towards the teacher, everything is going to be written down in a journal that he's going to have for each day, for each of those 20 English language learners. He's going to log them into a journal, and he's going to, for all the months, so he can have more concrete answers of those barriers. In the structured interview, he's going to have 10 minutes to get with each student at each grade level. He's going to ask permission from the teachers to talk with those students. He's going to ask 10 questions to those students, the same question to all the students, and they have to answer in the most honest way. And finally, the poll. The author is going to go to each classroom, one classroom in third, one classroom in fifth, and one classroom in sixth. Why is the author not doing fourth grade? Because he already has those observations and the structured interview from them. So he's going to do one in third for sorry, third, fifth, and sixth grade. So the poll is gonna be the same 10 questions, but it's gonna have option A, option B, option C, and option D for each question. And the author is gonna observe if the students chose the same answer based on that poll and based on those barriers. Data collection and analysis. What am I gonna do? What is the author gonna do with that information? Collection of journal. He's gonna collect the journal, all the journal that the things that he logged in. He's gonna collect them. He's gonna collect assessments from the teachers. He's gonna collect the structured interview responses, the answers that they gave, and he's gonna get the poll answers. When the author has everything, he's gonna do an analysis. He's gonna get all of that information, starting with the observations. He's gonna observe all the information from the month he logged into that journal. And based on that student, for example, student A, this student did not have a good relationship with others, and that affected their learning. She or he did not play with no one throughout recess time. So when he came into the classroom, or she came into the classroom, she didn't want to participate. He didn't want to participate. So basically, we're gonna put that in a graph, and we're gonna put that student A, is gonna go into that barrier that it's relationships that affects his or her learning, because he or she does not speak English correctly, or he or she doesn't understand other students. Then we're gonna observe student B. Student B probably did not have a correct, uh, the teacher couldn't help student B. So the teacher did not put a lot of emphasis on student B. So that will be an unqualified teacher. And that is the barrier for student B. But a student could have different barriers, more than one. So that student could be on a different column of that graph. The same goes to the structured interviews. Student number one that we interviewed, based on his answers, we're gonna put him in a column of a graph. If the first column is about unqualified teachers, the second column is about money restraints, and we're gonna find out through those that interview and that poll answers, where does those students go in the graph, so we can find out based on that graph what are the barriers, the biggest barriers that English language learners face at school every day when they come in. We're gonna encounter more barriers that we're not having on those five, and those are gonna be qualified as others. And those others can be an X research and find out more about those. Why is it important for the author to have? Why is this personal reflections? Why are they important? It is important to understand English language learners. It is important to learn we can help them so they can achieve their goals, so they can be successful as well as also. Thanks to another studies, especially the one from Carolina Perez and Stephanie Morrison, called Understanding the Challenges of English Language Learners, the author had other ideas and learned more about this important matter. These findings of this research will help other teachers understand English language learners in their classroom. They're going to be more aware of how they can help them, or what are the struggles of those English language learners. For the next cycle, we can the author can investigate probably at the end of the school year, what are the barriers that they did overcome? What are the barriers they did not overcome? Why they didn't overcome? They can make this. The author can make the same structured interviews with the same students to see if the answers changed throughout the year. The poll can be done at the end of the year as well to understand if the answers changed. The observations get done at the end of the year, be done at the end of the year to see if something changed in those 20 English language learners. And if now they have better grades, they have better relationships, the teacher is now prepared to help them if they overcame the money restraints, if their family supported them. That could be done at the end of the year also as the next cycle. What are the aha moments that the author, in this case me, I had, is because I learned a lot of other researchers and studies that exist for English language learners. There's a lot of information regarding English language learners, and there's a lot of also resources in schools, tools in schools, and different courses to help English language learners. The problem is schools need to implement them correctly. Teachers have to be prepared to help those English language learners. And that is my were my aha moments, and this is my research proposal and presentations. Thank you for listening.